by the way, they were smart enough, I don't know why.
I don't know that it was smart.
They made copies of this and then gave it back to him. And this is how he changed it.
Yeah, let me get you out of the bank. Y'all see what all was on there?
So everything that's on
When I told you I was drawing a video game, you decide, well, we need to let you fix it.
And then, so he changed it, and by the way, they made copies of it after they changed it, Mom said, we're not changing it. That's not it. Maybe not.
No, I'm getting hired today.
No.
That would have been more like me. You see how my life is useless.
He wrote his name and date.
Ain't the stupid, politics won't stop, that's some of the things that we thought about.
I may keep from the food.
Anyway, we'll look at this, when he changes it, you'll see how he scratched out stuff, says, my life is great, I love everything, OHS, Oxford High School rocks. This is a video, we went too far, right there, I love my life so much, he scratched all, we're all friends here, I tell people he went yoga up there, video game this is.
Oh.
So that's how he changed it, and then they sent him back to class, they made a copy of it, send him back to class. All right, let's go to the next one, Mike. I ain't working now. So, Oxford News, and this happened just a week or so ago.
That's Oxford, Michigan, yeah.
He is guilty now.
Flip.
Oxford News charges against him. Monday, October
24, 2022. He pled guilty. 24 charges against him.
If he knowingly, willfully, and deliberately chose to shoot other students. Yes. And by the way, his first plea way back was guilty by reason of
His parents still in jail.
he may be called to testify against his parents in jail on manslaughter charges. By the way, so parents, I think
That's the one.
Excited.
give me one more, Mike.
Oh, there's breaking news in Oxford, Michigan.
You know.
This is a picture, actually, he posted this one, 4 days before the shooting, okay?
No, they asked me to
And it had,
before now.
Mike didn't put it up there because he don't like to put those things, it had my new baby. So he posted this was a pistol.
That's the
By the way,
gun.
we'll talk about it, most of the guns come from where?
Home.
And lots of them are stolen. This, folks, this was stolen. His parents gave this to him as an early Christmas present. Okay?
He was how old?
15 years old.
15.
And by the way, if you're a gun person, anybody gun people in here, that's what is it? It's
P222.
CP22, and for those, that's foreign language to me, but I'll tell you, that's a big money gun. Okay, so it just wasn't something. That's the.
Yeah, look at it. That thing look good.
In that office the whole time they were talking to him.
Wow.
And they never called a resource officer, never talked to anybody else.
Sound like Trustford, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big time thing.
Yeah, that was a white school.
All right.
Trustford.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Told you.
just because, look, by the way, Mike and I try to stay as up to date as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to know, this trustful principal put on leave, by the mayor, why? Y'all know all about this story.
Because she didn't report it.
Notebook, what about that notebook?
Yep. She didn't report it. A whole year later.
By the way, just
1
so
year.
y'all know, I know that principal, he's a pretty good guy. But look, folks, in the state of Alabama, we have that indemnity thing, so that you can't be sued and all those kind of things. So, something, if
It
somebody
protects
tries to-
them.
You know what what it does, indemnity does cover? If you break the law. And you're a mandatory reporter, and the law was that he had to report.
Put that 1 year.
Okay, so I'm not gonna get into all of that. This would happen just a little while after that.
Yep.
Y'all saw those on the news not too long ago? I'm seeing head check yet. That's in Morton, Georgia. Y'all saw that, Jefferson?
Yes, sir.
And by the way, I know all of those administrators. They're good people. And I called them the instant I heard it happen. And by the way, we hear all about bullying, we'll talk about that a little bit more. And we don't take it lightly, but we also know that bullying's definition is a little different than it used to be when we were in school, right? So this student had posted all of that stuff, had talked to them about it. And I talked to that principal, and he assures me that they had documented each step. So those lawsuits probably aren't gonna have a whole lot of credit, because they had done what they were supposed to do and what they did. We'll see when it comes to court. But folks, that's why it's all up to you. You gotta make sure you're covering you, okay? You've all been texting gas down now, what we know. Let's talk about that, because again, Mike and I we'll talk about Columbine and all those others. What do we know about Uvalde? One at a time, to keep them confused. What? Kids were killed, that's right.
Yeah.
Here's, let's look at,
How many of y'all have heard about Gadsden, Alabama?
yeah, anybody
I
know
missed
about
that one.
Gadsden?
I ain't heard that one
We
yet.
ain't heard that one.
I know Dr. Rowley, I spent all day on the phone with him when that.
So understand that we'll talk about some of the differences, and now you've already, they fired everybody in the world.
Didn't they like wait to go in?
And talk about that too. They waited to go in, what was it,
77 minutes. Got a call, and there's no defense of that, but I will also tell all these other people that don't tell me what you're gonna do till you've been on the receiving end of gunfire. Y'all was shooting out the room at me. It wasn't like we just walk up the door and hope it doesn't go in.
And understand, not only was he shooting
Can't do
out
that.
at them, where they couldn't get to him, he had, I forgot how many hostages in there.
Yep, yeah.
So they couldn't just shoot blindly either.
We know we had lost 21.
Yeah.
They may have all been dead by the time they got there, but they don't know that.
Let's look at what he did. By the way,
Tell y'all a little bit about Uvalde.
Yeah.
The day this happened, early that morning, this guy started his day off by shooting his grandmother in the face with a shotgun. And she somehow has survived that. But out after he shoots her, he's on some social media platform with a girl in Germany and tells her that I just shot my grandmother, I'm going to shoot up an elementary school. Steals grandmother's truck, headed down there. I really think his intention was to drive through the fence at the school, but he wrecked just prior to getting there. He wrecked, gets out the truck right across from where he wrecked, there was a funeral home. People come out of the funeral home to check on the wreck. When he gets out of his truck, he starts shooting at them. They very smartly go back inside the funeral home and call 911. Hey, he then goes down, climbs over the 6-foot fence that surrounded the school. Hey, walks in, and that's where this picks up right here.
all right, so you see the red is him. The red is him. And you see he passes, if you can see it good, the side entrance down there at the bottom. That's their main entrance. But he passed it, didn't even stop there. He went by and went down to the right, to the left there, and as he's going down, he's one of the few school shooters that we know of that was actually shooting randomly through the windows there. Well, why did he go down to that room down there in the west entrance? Nothing. Always open.
Always open.
Propped, door locked, unlocked, whatever it was. He passed the side entrance and went to the one that he knew was open. Remember those statistics I gave you, okay? Only one school shooter has ever breached breached an exterior door, and no school shooter that we know of has ever breached an interior locked door.
Right.
So he went in that
You
door,
can't.
and the red is him, he passed all, and video shows that he passes all those rooms and goes straight to that entry to 111 and 112. Why do you think he went to that room?
Because he knew.
He could see in there, the window.
What?
He could see.
No.
No, all of them had windows.
Actually, come to find out, what we found out is there was at least, I think it's 15 maintenance requests have been turned in to repair the lock on room 111.
Oh my God.
And what we also know now is he went to 4th grade in room 111. Okay? So he passed every door that was locked, go to the one that was unlocked. Okay? This is
So how he knew that?
and we won't show his face.
I didn't show the video, but he's the only shooter that I have to show you who he is. The only reason I knew I wasn't much for him. But how far is he away from that door?
Not too far. About 3 or 4 steps.
What about that door? About that door?
It's open.
It's still propped up.
That's right, after he keeps it.
Yeah.
It's still good stuff. He went in there, went down, fired over 100 rounds in that classroom, killed 19 students and 2 adults. Okay? On June the 10th of this year, about a month after that happened, well, actually 2 weeks after that.
Oh, I know about Gaston.
Late May.
In Gaston. I remember that one now. They was in summer camp in Gaston. They killed him. They sure
Yeah, we're
did.
gonna talk about who's targets and. There
This
we
is
go.
Walnut Park Elementary School in Gaston.
Gaston,
Anybody
I'm-
ever been up there?
No, but I heard
Just
about
so
that
you
one.
know, it right
I ain't been to the
across
school, but I
street,
done been up there.
blocked off here at UPLC. That's a not so great housing, neighborhood. Not so great. On the day that it happened,
Yeah, I've been through
when
that.
Mike and I got the call that day, and we actually got to go up there on Monday and had to watch the surveillance video. It was bone chilling. So I need to explain to you, because some of you knew about it, but lots of you had not heard about it, right? Because you didn't heard about it because that principal did exactly
What he
what she
supposed
was supposed to do. Okay? On the day that it happened, we watched the video, we see this guy come across the street, right beside that sidewalk was parked the Rainbow City SRO, who they had contracted was their SRO. His car was parked right there. You see him on the video come up to the door, try to open the door of the car, look in through the window, then try to bang on the.
You gotta tell them what this guy looks like now.
Oh yeah, that's right. This guy was about this big around, no shirt, had his pants hanging down right here. He was drugged out huge, okay? Big time drugged out, okay? He tries to open that door. He walks up, and this is an old building like lots in our state, okay? Just like all the rest of them, right here on the left-hand side, as you go in the door. is
That's
the
their
button.
main entrance.
That's the main entrance, is the button. Press button to gain interest, to call all that. The principal, and I call it God's providence, happened to be in the room where all the video monitors were, just then. Okay, she saw him go to that car door, she saw him go back up, he never paid any attention to that buzzer, never looked at it. He tries to open the door, okay? Well, as he tries to open the door, it doesn't open, he looks at that, and then he bangs on it, then he's trying to pull it off the hinges, okay? He's doing everything he can to open that door. The principal, at that moment in time, puts the school on lockdown. They have 38 kids in the summer program back in the back of the school, okay? She puts the school on lockdown. He's still trying to get in that door, she looks at the video monitors. About 100 feet down from this door is another set of doors, just like this, building way just like this. And then another 100 feet, another set. You know how old school buildings work, different hallways. She sees down at door number 3, there was a CNP worker that was trying to get in that had gone out to her car and left the keys. She, smartly enough, goes down, runs down, gets that CNP worker, lets her in. Folks, we still don't know what would have happened there if the principal hadn't done that. Okay? We're watching this guy. By that time, he goes down to door number 2, tries to do the same thing, and then goes down to door number 3. By the time he gets to door number 3, the SRO, who was in the back of the school, steps out. He's on the top of that porch, top step of that student. The perpetrator's at the foot. Mike and I couldn't hear him. It was just video, but you could see him visually and could tell he was trying to de-escalate the situation. You could see his hands doing this. Tell that, all that. This guy's still talking. By that time, we see the Gaston City Police car pull up in the background on video. We saw that. He gets out of the car. The Rainbow City guy takes one step down, one step still, and by that time it's on. This guy attacks him. Like I say, this guy's drugged up. He's throwing that Rainbow City cop around like a wet rag. All of them, they're fighting. The Gaston City guy gets out. He tases him, and we watch it. He tases him twice, and he didn't flinch. That's how drugged up.
He was on that mill.
He pulls out, what do y'all call those? Ass, I call them time. He pulls that out, and he's coming from back here. He still didn't flinch. That's how drugged up he was.
Yeah,
He's
he
throwing
was
that
on some
Rainbow
strong
City
shit.
guy around all over the place. They finally get to the ground. The Rainbow City guy's kind of got him around the waist. He's reaching over him. He has his gun. He's on top of him, and the Rainbow City guy policeman's on the ground. He has got his gun and he is literally picking him up off the ground by his gun, trying to get his gun out of his holster. That's when the Gadsden City guy dispatches him. Kills him.
No, he needs to.
Folks,
Dang.
you didn't hear all of those kind of stories, did you? What you just heard that, Gadsden City. Folks, if that principal, and those, by the way, those teachers that were in there did a fantastic job, the students never knew anything happened. They went to the back of the school, thought they were doing a drill, and in the meantime, buses came and took them from that school to Gadsden High School, where parents came and picked them up, and they, until parents got there, they didn't know what happened. Folks, all those people did exactly what they were supposed to do, and if that hadn't happened, we don't know if we'd have had another Uvalde. We don't know how many 38,
Right.
those 38 kids and other adults. Okay?
And by the way, the
That's
news
what
media
we're supposed to do.
reported that this guy was from North Carolina.
That's right.
He did currently live in North Carolina. He went to elementary school at Walnut Park Elementary.
That's right.
Oh, man.
You didn't hear that out there on the news media anyway.
Dang.
Okay, that was one of those things. Lots of times they're former students. Okay? This is the back part of that. Well, we went too far. This is the back part of Walnut Park where they had built on. And Mike often asked me, used to ask me, why don't they just join them? Somebody tell me why they don't, when they build on the old school buildings, why they don't join them? Code.
I just
If
about to say
they
that.
join them, they have to bring all that old school up,
Yep.
electrical, plumbing, fire, and all those things.
Bring it
That's
up to
why
code with
if
the
you
new
didn't
building.
know, when you go by those schools and they've got another building, that's why. Okay.
Yep.
But Gadsden did something
I
there,
knew
they
that.
got about 10-foot breezeway there between them two buildings.
Yeah, I
So
see.
they put up, that's a real nice looking wrought iron fence. Can I climb over a fence? But what does the fence tell you?
Keep out.
I ain't supposed to be on your side of the fence, right?
Right.
Keep out.
So if you find me on your side of the fence, you know I'm up to something. Your SRO can deal with me now. Yeah, people that are there for a legitimate reason, they're not gonna climb over a fence to get in school, they're gonna go around to the door and come in. Okay, so fencing does work in those instances. Yeah,
All right, let's look at the history of violence. And again, I don't want to bore you, but it's important to know because National Threat Assessment Center, which is a wing of the Secret Service, started in '98 when this guy on identifying assassins. Columbine happened when?
1999.
Columbine happened
1999.
April 20th. We'll get into that in a minute.
I got it right here.
420, ain't
And then, the NTAC was asked to use a similar model, could be used to identify school attackers as assassins. So they did that, they defined mass attacks, and then they studied 37 attacks between '74 and 2000. They took a little bit of break, and then they came back in 2008, and the funding ended in 2017, okay? So they studied between 2008 and 2017, and so technically the funding ended December of 2017. Anybody know what happened on Valentine's Day 2018?
School shooting.
it was a school shooting, you're right. Martyrs' Home in Douglas, Parkland, Florida.
Parkland, Florida, happened Valentine's Day 2018. So miraculously, funding came down, and now, thankfully, it is fully funded all the time. It's an ongoing study. Now, that may not seem important to you, but when we get into why those trends change, why it's important, because we need to keep up with that. But in 2018, there were 3 school attacks. 2019, 2 attacks. K-12, and that one in college that we'll talk about. And in 2020 was a new statistic. What happened in 2020?
Another one?
Another school attack.
COVID, that's right.
So how do we all teach in 2020?
Oh, yeah.
So down in Florida, I got a 6th grade class whose teacher's logged on, teaching his Zoom class. Okay? Got all the students logged on, he's teaching class. In the middle of class, behind the student, he can see mama and boyfriend get into a fight. In the course of this fight, boyfriend shoots mama.
Kills mama.
We just had a school shooting, folks. It happened during class.
Now, the teacher was smart enough to see it coming, so she blocked all the students, but she witnessed it in school, technically in school. So you see how trends change. So here's some of the key findings that you need to know, and that's why it's important. First of all, there's no accurate, I know
It's coming.
there's no accurate, there's no accurate profile on student attack, or their profile. By the way, I always say, we've had school shooters in the country from 10 years old to 81 years old. And all in between, both genders, all races, okay? So you can't necessarily say that. I used to say, and I bet you Mr. Rhodes would say, and some of you say, look, when I was in high school, in that changing class, I could point and say, that's my next school shooter. But you know what? It wasn't because of what they wore. It was because of that interaction that you had with them. You already knew what, their background. That's how. So there's no.
I always ask people what, right after Columbine, what do we hear about those shooters out there? Who did that shooting?
Isolated loners.
Yeah, the trench coat mafia.
Yeah.
Okay?
Them.
Well, I'm here to tell you there was no such thing as trench coat mafia. Okay? There were some students that wore trench coats to school every day, wore them to school for a purpose. Okay? But there wasn't a gang of students that you had to do this to be involved. They wore, what day did y'all start school back, Mr. Akers? August 10th. So I've checked, because that's about when most of our schools started around here. I think statewide in Alabama that day, the temperature was about 95 degrees with 96% humidity.
We.
So at first day of school back, you're doing what you said. You were standing out front of school with students come in, to watch them come in today, okay? And I don't know what y'all's dress code policy is here at Midfield, but this is not a dress code violation, okay? In Little Johnny, okay? Long black trench coat, okay? 95 degrees, 96% humidity. What are you gonna do when he walks in?
Call the SHR.
Absolutely. Well, it's now March the 20th. It's still 80, 85 degrees in Alabama, but Little Johnny has wore that same black trench coat every day from August 10th to March 20th. What are you gonna do when he walks in this morning?
Nothing.
Good morning, Johnny. How's it going, right? Because that's become his normal. And that's why the Columbine shooters did. They needed to become normal so that when they walked in on April the 20th, that nobody paid attention to it.
How many counselors work my counselors here? Okay, just so you know, I have to tell my counselor story here, and I'll try to make it quick. I was at Pelham High School. At that time, had a big, we had a, Pelham was a large.
Before the split.
Yeah, we got into that one before, but we had a large group of goth kids. You know, that was just the, and of course, I had a new counselor, I still remember this, I probably should tell you, but I had a new counselor. This kid was a goth kid, and that morning, the football players or somebody was picking on him, and he screamed out a threat to him, so I got him in my office, and I had him sitting there, and he was sitting at my desk, and I had a new counselor. She was doing the perfect counselor things, okay? He was sitting there across from me, desk right here, I'm in my chair, he's sitting there, the counselor sitting there. She's saying, doing all the counselor things that's good, okay? Johnny, you want to talk about it? Johnny, we can help you. Johnny, all those counselor things. And the whole time, I'm staring at his backpack, okay? I ain't said a word, I'm just staring at his backpack. She thought, Johnny, let's talk about it. You know, we can, all of a sudden, he finally jumps up, throws his backpack on my desk, it literally hits the desk and bounces in my lap. He said, here, take it, search me, search backpack, search anything, just make her shut the F up. She's doing what she thought anyway.
Dang.
Oh.
So, here's one that we like to bring up a lot, and you'll see it again. You see this, the number one reason for an attack is what? They're mad at somebody, okay? Unfortunately, and what usually happens, unfortunately, if I'm after her, you people are in the way. That's usually what happens, okay? They're after a particular group. But you see that number two, if you have primary and secondary motives together, what's the second longest one there? No, what's it, if you have a look.
Suicidal.
Suicide.
Suicide. Folks, listen to me, and listen to me close. We are not saying that every kid that talks about that and has suicide ideations is a school shooter, okay? Not saying that at all. But you need to know that of these school attackers in this longitudinal study, of these school attackers, 77% of them had researched, talked about, attempted, there was a suicide correlation. Okay? So, and again, we're not saying that everyone, because we have all kinds of suicide issues now, and now you have to have a suicide protocol. But understand And if you do a suicide protocol, you might wanna look at threat assessment, because 77 is a pretty strong number, wouldn't you say? Okay, so we need to look at that. Most impactors, we talk, look, I asked this, Mike and I have been everywhere in the state, okay? And when I say.
When he says everywhere, believe me, he means everywhere.
Any of y'all ever been to Barber County?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason.
You follow.
What is that? Oh, Marengo.
Marengo County.
Ringo.
Look,
Okay, that's down there too.
We ask this everywhere we go. What percentage of households in Midfield City Schools have firearms?
Almost all of them.
75?
It's about 80, 90%.
80%. By the way, we ask it everywhere, and the lowest that we've got is about 80%. Anywhere in the state. And then we have one that was really rural up there, and I think they practiced it at choir practice, because in unison, right as I finished it, and in harmony, they said 100%. So you need to know that we know that Alabama, and that's okay, but 75% of them get them from home, folks.
But if, when you talk to your parents about weapons, and you ask them, you know, Johnny threatened to bring a gun to school and all that, are there
Say
weapons
something.
in your home?
Well, they say most of the time.
Yes.
They'll tell you yes.
Yeah.
But where are
They're
they?
locked up.
Locked up in the
And who's got the
closet.
combination or the key?
Daddy.
Dad.
They're the only ones, I'll just tell you, I tell this story. I was in a manifestation when I was in Jefferson County, manifestation here, little Johnny had made the threat 2 different times. Second time, we're in there with Mama, and the first thing I do, Mama, are there, weapons in your home? Yes, but they're locked up, and I'm the only one that had combination. Johnny, must not have had medicine that morning, he blurts out, Mama, you remember a couple of weeks ago, you forgot it, asked me.
They know how to get into them. Parents will tell you, oh, they're all locked up. He doesn't have access.
But let's say Midfield has 85% firearms. What percentage of Midfield City Schools homes have kitchen knives?
All of them.
100%. You see why that's important? In that study, you see that very first study, from 74 to 2000, 97% were firearms. 2008 to now it's present, Mike can tell you it's present, 61% of firearms, 39% bladed weapons. So they all have access to weapons of somehow, right? 2 years ago, was it last year, 2 years ago, right next Jefferson County School, McElroy High School, y'all remember that stabbing they had? Third day of school.
Yeah.
What was it about?
Social
Green
media.
stuff, that's right. And that girl that planned it, if you didn't know, she had a butcher knife, she had a paring knife in her sock, she had a pocket knife. She had planned it, okay? They have
really?
access to weapons. Okay? Now, we can talk about all kinds of different things, and I'm kind of chasing squirrel here, but one of the things is, we've been in all kinds of different places and have to go through metal detectors. Y'all don't have metal detectors.
Yeah, they do.
They do. And just so you'll know, I'm not a real fan of the walk-through metal detectors. Just because you have to have somebody to man them, they'll go off 200 times, and if you don't check them all the time, that's right. And 2 years ago at Huffman High School, they had a shooting. And that kid went through that metal detector just right, and went down, and because Huffman High School is so big, he popped that door open, somebody else had it. Folks, there's all kinds of ways that we can try to deter them, but the bottom line is, we have to get kids on our side. It's no longer snitching, it's taking care of you, okay? And as we see in lots of Alabama, when we've seen things about hit lists, it's because students did the right thing and turned it in. That's why we can do that. We have to talk them in.
But if you watch the news media and listen to them, what do they tell you is the number one gun used to commit school violence?
Assault rifles.
AR, that's right.
AR-15s or whatever
My
they
study
got.
says that 72% of the time they use a handgun.
Why?
It's easier to carry.
Absolutely.
What's every student that walks into your front door every day have?
Backpack.
It's easier to put in a backpack, a handgun or an AR-15.
Handgun.
Depends on what kind you got. You can fold them up.
And
Man.
understand,
Let's have my backpack.
that's right, and understand that's, we've changed, Mr. Roller and some of you others can remember, and there's probably still some districts, they have different laws and rules everywhere. I remember, y'all don't do clear mesh backpacks, do you?
Yep.
They used
do?
to. Some schools did.
You know why we changed that in most of the places in the state? Why do you think?
You could see them.
Don't search it. A lot of people say that it was an invasion of privacy and all that. The real reason that a lot of places changed, what do your band students bring in? What do your
Instruments,
athletes bring in?
duffel bag.
So you see it's not equitable, and so you start getting into that, and going, well, we make them, you see, that's why lots of it's changed, okay? Not necessarily bad or good, just reason that we changed that, okay?
All right. Once again, I have surveyed the room, and I am confident today that I am the second oldest person here.
I don't think so.
So.
I know
do you
who the
think
oldest
you make-
person
That's right. He makes fun. He reminds me of that.
But I tell you, I graduated from Brewer High School long, long ago.
Did y'all hear where he graduated from?
Brewer.
No, if you're from there, it has no vowels, it's just Brewer High School, okay?
But that's okay. I always tell people, I've been saving up vowels all my life. Y'all will run out of vowels at some point, and I'll have some in reserve.
Anybody here been to Brewer High School? There's a reason for that, just so you'll know. And
But
by
I
the way, it's a
graduated
great
there
place.
long, long ago. But if you'd have went into the parking lot at Brewer High School the year I graduated and looked in any pickup parked in the parking lot, this
Like
is
what you saw.
1990, Homewood, Alabama, same thing, with a deer on the back of the truck.
That's right.
Yeah, and most of our windows were rolled down. I mean, it wasn't no locked doors or anything, they were all just sitting out there. So I always tell people, if the year I graduated, if I'd have got mad, went to the parking lot, got a gun, come back into school and done a school shooting, you might have said that with a sudden impulsive act. The gun was just already there. Mr. Ackerman, you again, is that in your parking lot today?
Hope not.
Not supposed to be, right?
And I
And if it is, we're gonna do something about it.
That's right, and I always bring this up, and lots of new APs don't know this. If there is a firearm found on a student on campus, what has to happen to that student?
Arrested.
What? Expulsion.
Yeah.
Lots of them don't know that.
That's off the
And
top.
the reason, because you're at the mercy of all, just like all the rest of us, the principal trained us, and somebody trained them and all that, so you don't know, okay? If you click on little Johnny and click on firearms, you go over there to disposition, it won't let you say suspended pending board hearing, it won't let you say alternative school, it won't let you do all of those things. Because the state law says that student must be expelled.
He's probably gonna be arrested.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Well, he's
let me
gonna
back
be
up.
expelled, it's got to be, but is there ever a situation where a student shouldn't be expelled that had a gun at school?
Well, they're still under that.
Respectfully, it doesn't apply, I'll just tell you.
No.
But let me explain to you. By the way, they still have to be expelled. But most of the time, it's for, depending on the district calendar year or a school year, okay, expelled. Look, I had
Makes
one,
sense.
one of those kids that just, we'll talk about him later, the same kind of kid that was the starting quarterback in valedictorian, never had any discipline in his life. Got up that morning, Carl wouldn't crank, Daddy at the last minute says, take my car. He drives to school, kid is jealous of him, says, I think Daddy has a gun in there. They search it, sure enough, he does. Now, does that kid deserve to be expelled for a year or whatever? Never had one, no. But he had to show expulsion. The loophole says the board can meet and reinstate that student. Now, that kid still had to go to alternative school because it's still ultimately his responsibility. But that's still, so there's extenuating,
There's things happen, we understand, but please, please don't be that principal though, that had school districts I work with, last school year, the week, Monday after dove season had opened on that weekend. Kids sitting in third period science class, so we're in the middle of the day. Sitting there and out loud, all of a sudden he says, crap, I left my shotgun in the truck. Bring him down. This kid's like Dale Top. He's never had a discipline his whole career. He wasn't the quarterback, right? He's a good kid. But principal, and I just happened to be at the school the day this happened. Just happened to be there. And principal, when I bring this, says, tell him to take it home. Well, I said, we can't do that. He said, we'll just, I haven't heard it. And I said, well, there were 26 other students and a teacher in that room that heard that it did. And I said, a couple things got out. I said, one, I said, you know, great kids, all this happened, you know, wonderful, but I said, next week, you're gonna catch little Johnny with a gun in his car in the parking lot. And little Johnny's the thug that we've been wanting to get rid of. And so now you're gonna expel him. But little Johnny or little Johnny's friend was one of those 26 sitting in that classroom that heard this, that knows this kid had a gun at school and you didn't do anything to it.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
said,
he gonna
so
think the same
what are you gonna
thing.
do now? I said, because you're fixing to cost your school system a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And Trussville City School was kind of the same way.
Yeah, sure did.
Mm-hmm.
Dale, please, is there some information you can share about how you talk to kids when hunting season rolls in? Are there certain times of the year where you just do reminders as announcements, to clean stuff out of your pockets? You know, you say these things on Friday, are there things that you can talk about?
Yeah, cause shouldn't be more school.
Movie, our most, rural schools in all in Central Tennessee is Ragland.
They shouldn't be, but they do.
And the principal at Ragland at the time, and let me tell you, about 80% of those students, male and female, were hunters. Okay, that's just to make it. The principal
Sound about
at the
right.
time would get on the intercom on Friday and say, dear season opens, please be sure, and make sure you can have that on campus. Everybody, and then, I'll tell you what he did, he parked across the
You
street
hear that
from the
ringing?
parking lot on Monday morning, so that he could catch kids coming in before they got on school property and say, hey, look. So, there's all.
Catch them before they get on property, you can send them home.
That's right. So, there's all kinds of things, like Mr. Rhodes says, that you can be proactive and say,
Yeah,
look, let's
that's
think
it.
about that. It's gonna cost you, because again, these kids are good kids sometimes, but they just forget. So we have to remind them all the time. Okay? Most attackers have experienced psychological, behavioral, developmental symptoms. That's what the National Threat Assessment Center said. Dr. Peter Langman came out with this book called Why Kids Kill. He studied these school shooters. He pretty much said psychotic, psychopathic, or traumatized. And they kind of correlate with the National Threat Assessment. So we use those, and we agree. All of them fall under one of those three. So I want to ask you, tell me some definitions. Give me the definition of psychotic. Somebody tell me psychotic.
Counselors, this is your time to show
Yeah,
me that in school.
You ain't-
What? What?
No, I say counselor, we're school counselor, not therapists, so.
Okay, well, just still says psychotic.
Yeah, I mean, your first word, you would say crazy, but that's not what we use, but.
Oh, just so you'll know, you can use, mentally deranged, there's some, imbalance, chemical, whatever. But Mike says the law enforcement, definition is.
They're crazy.
Right.
Okay.
So just understand it.
Like she said, we can't say.
Psychopathic.
We can.
That's right, we can say psychopathic. What is psychopathic? And by the way, a lot of our school attackers fall into this
Jeffrey Dahmer.
category. What does psychopathic mean?
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Type of mental.
Okay, they have tendencies, okay. And you can read, say, and by the way, psychopathic, most of them, lots of them have really, really high IQ. Something's happened to them, and so they've had a break, like you said. Lots of them, you'll read psychopathic.
That sounds
and
like
look it up, and it may
traumatized.
say no guilt, no conscience, no empathy, all those things.
Yeah.
More of our school attackers probably fall into the psychopathic category than any other.
Mike says psychopathic's definition is.
They're just mean kids. They know exactly what they're doing, but they do it anyway.
So understand, lots of them come
Sound
out.
about right.
And then, obviously, traumatized. Who's my middle school person? Right here. Tell me what traumatization is for a seventh grade girl.
The look that somebody cheating her.
Exactly. Now, understand traumatization to us is, that I lost a loved one,
sad death.
something happened to one of my kids, job, whatever it is, that's traumatization to me. But traumatization, we have to understand that to a middle school
Seeing
kid's
somebody
different
get
from
killed.
traumatization to us. Every day, I have an 8th grade granddaughter, okay? And I tell this story, I'll try to go through it quick. My wife is middle school, she was middle school specialist.
Still
middle
gotta
school
watch
teacher, Middle school administrator, she has a middle school. By the way, I was a middle school principal, assistant principal 1 year. I told them that was enough, okay? I was middle school. So my son and daughter who have or in the business world came to my wife and I said, look, we don't know what to do with her. She's so moody, she won't do what we're having. Oh, it's just awful. We don't know what's going on. I looked at my wife and I said, MSG? She said, it's a rough girl. Middle school girl. My son said, is that stuff they put in food? I said, no, she's just a middle school girl. It's going to happen. So I understand. But Mike says,
Y'all have teenagers?
oh
Almost.
yeah, 2, 3, 4.
What I will tell
Got
you,
grown children.
it is survivable. Okay? Now, we've done a lot of research on this, and I don't know why or how exactly it happens, but at about age 13, they take their brain out of their head and go set it on the shelf. Okay? But there's hope. At about age 26, they start getting pieces of it back.
Oh,
It doesn't all come back
they
like
ain't got
it
it all
left.
back.
It comes back a little bit at a time. But you can survive it. But what I'll tell you is you won't come out of it the same way you went into it. Prior to having teenagers, I used to look like Brad Pitt.
I feel you. I had my Denzel on. Now I'm around here like Red Fox.
Remember that the Red Assessment Suicide Connection, what percentage of those shooters talk about suicide? 77.
77.
Okay. Violent, half the attackers had interest in violent topics. First of all, what kind of filter system you have, internet filter system that fit? You know? Anybody know? Go Guardian, Eyeballs.
Lightspeed.
Securus.
Okay, either way, look, as a high school principal, what did we think those, filter systems were for? Keep the kids off porn.
Yeah.
Mike says, however,
They're actually designed to keep teachers off of Pinterest.
but look, folks, those things come in handy that I didn't think about as a principal for a long time. Mike and I were up in North Alabama a couple, 3 years ago, and a 6th grade girl had researched 66 times in one morning how to commit suicide on the school internet. She was going home to an empty house. That IT person who caught that, they called a bus driver, said, don't let her out, come back, bring her back. They brought her back. She admitted her boyfriend had broke up with her the day before. She was going to commit suicide. So those filters are big. And by
Yeah,
the
I've
way,
seen a lot of
out of
that.
person, when you start doing a threat assessment on somebody, you might want to look at search history. And those search history, because all of them, just about all of them know, lots of them will know those keywords.
We look for keywords. That's what our filter system works for. Our kids know what words we look for.
That's right. If you're doing
They
the
learn
threat
how to
assessment,
search
that
around
search
it.
history anyway. You look at it.
Okay? So, let's talk about, so over half of them have an interest in violent topics. Okay? Now, I'm gonna ask you this question. We've already gave you the answer to this question.
That's right.
Okay? When did Columbine happen?
April 20.
429.
What is 420?
Weed day.
Supposed to be cannabis.
Y'all wouldn't believe how many places we go.
We go to all these districts, we'll have, well, I don't know what 420 is. It's, yeah.
What else? What else?
What else was 420?
Besides weed day. Hitler's birthday, Columbine. What else?
Sure
Waco,
is.
Texas.
Wake up there.
Yep.
Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City bombing was April the 19th. About 42% of our school attacks happened between April the 15th and April the 22nd.
Now weed don't make you go kill nobody.
And just so you'll know, Mike and I were doing this.
In these
thing
events.
About 3 years or so ago. We were up in North Alabama, it was April 15th, I said, folks, it's coming, and by the way, at Jefferson County, when I was a hearing officer, student services person, we have 36,000 students, 57 students. Every year around April 20, some nuts gonna do something. So I told that bunch up there, I said, look, y'all need to be on height awareness. Remember that height awareness? It's April 15th, somebody's gonna do something. You just may as well be prepared, tell the teachers to be on height awareness. Not there, but 4 days later, this lady up at the top, who said she was infatuated with the Columbine shooting, school shooting, left Florida.
She boarded a plane in Florida. Just prior to boarding a plane, she posted on social media that she was flying to Colorado to relive the Columbine experience.
Now, Colorado shut down 20 schools because they didn't search for this thing. Now, they ended up finding her in a hotel, she had committed suicide, okay? But understand that they have violent interest. This one, that's the Columbine effect, it is not updated, okay? Just so you'll know it's not updated, because we don't want to give them the privilege of thinking that we're updated, because it's not a law enforcement website, it's not a media website, it's a school shooter wannabe website.
That's their scorecard.
Columbine's not the biggest, but it's still the standard that school shooters go by.
But over there on the right, last school year, Dunmore High School in Dunmore, Florida, had 4 students arrested, 2 15-year-olds, which were charged as adults, by the way, for plotting an attack on the 25th anniversary of Columbine.
Folks, that would have been
Yeah, I
2024.
I heard about that.
They're already plotting.
And plotting enough to charge a 15-year-old as an adult.
That's right. So understand, and they search all these things, okay? They have violent interests, okay? All attackers, and we said that before, all of them experience some kind of social stressors really close. Here's the thing, y'all are having Veterans Day, and then you're gonna be off for Thanksgiving, right? Let's look at this one. This is the one, it's not none of us is nice, but I'll tell you, it's the one that gets my attention every time. Look at that very first bullet. 75% of attacks occurred within 1 week of returning from an attendance. Okay? Y'all remember Oxford, Michigan, we looked at, that was November 30th?
Yeah.
Right after
Thanksgiving.
Look, and last year I had a little thing, I don't have it with me now, but in the state of Alabama, from Thanksgiving to January 6th, there were like 13 thwarted attacks because people did what they were supposed to do, but it all happened after that Thanksgiving or after Christmas break. 75% of them within 1 week of returning. Now that break could be Christmas or Thanksgiving, but it could be they were sent to alternative school or suspended. That attendance break means they were in your school. Okay? So when they come back, we better be on high awareness back there. Okay?
Makes sense.
And 25% of those happened the very first day back. Pine Bluff, Arkansas, during COVID, the first day they went back, kid shot his supposed best friend, very first day back over a video game. So lots of them happened then. 3/4 of them targeted a specific person, that's like I said, I'm mad at her back there, but everybody else in the way. Particularly, most had at least one friend, and only 2 had no friends. 4 were in a romantic relationship. We hear all of this, that they were all alone, almost 3/4 of them were active in school or community. One of the Columbine
Dr.
shooters-
Roller a while ago said what we heard about Columbine was they were loners, they were outcasts, they were all of this. Listen to what Dale's fixing to tell you.
One of the Columbine shooters was captain of the soccer team, and the other one was a co-chair of the debate team. Is that longer than outside? No, that's right. So that's what the media would have you believe.
Yeah, it is terrible.
Again, just about all of them experience some kind of negative home life. By the way.
Little Johnny could be a great kid,
Right, little Johnny.
but if Jefferson County Sheriff's Department or Midfield Police go to their house 3 times a week for domestic.
So again, most of them experience negative home life factors, and that's, again, we say this all the time, principals, you don't know all this. That's why the team's important to find out all of these things, okay? Most attackers were victims of bullying. You see that very first sentence, what does it say? Most attackers what?
Felt.
Felt bullied. Now, just again, we're not trying to blow bullying, but she's sitting up there by herself, y'all laughing a while ago. Who must y'all been laughing at? Her, right? And by the way, that's the way a middle school brain works. I can tell you that because my grandma-
I would tell you, it's the way high school brains work now.
That's right. So again, they feel bullied. Bullying's a different perception than it was.
Yeah.
So most of them felt bullied, okay? They had a history of school disciplinary problems that could have been small stuff that started up. It got bigger and bigger. And most had prior contact with law enforcement.
I always say that prior contact with law enforcement is not high-fiving your SRO in the hallway. They've been in the back of the car for something.
They're in the system.
Right.
So we know that. All attackers exhibit concerning behavior. What's mama concerned with right here? Cigarettes. What should she be concerned with?
Them guns.
Everything else.
Everything else.
Everything
Oh,
else.
so I
And by the
said,
way, this is pretty much an accurate cartoon depiction of one of the Columbine shooters.
We've been using this cartoon for over 5 years now, and we just keep using it because get the point
Should
across.
mom have been aware something was wrong?
Yes.
Okay. So all of them are, communication now, what was that other number that we talked about with, suicide?
70-some%.
77%. This is a bigger number, folks. And we hear about it that they just snap. We hear all of those kind of things. From the time that they've been doing this study till now, 81% of school attackers communicated their intent in some shape, form, or fashion. 81%. It's not.
They're
I'm
looking
just
for
gonna
help.
go and snap. They tell somebody, they plan it, they write it down, they do something. Okay?
What I forgot to tell y'all this morning in my introduction that I get lost in all the time.
Yeah.
Everything that Dale and I show you today is real, okay? We don't make stuff up for the presentation and stuff. It's all actual stuff that's happened in a school somewhere. So all these posts right here, they're real. The one over on the left right there, that's an 11th grade student out of Pinellas County, Florida. That's a Snapchat posting that was screenshotted and turned over to law enforcement. He's standing there with what appears to be an AR-style rifle.
I see.
His caption down below, it says, "Round 3 in Florida on Tuesday," with a smiley face. Over on the right side, that's a really old Facebook post. It's a bunch of rifles laid out across the bed. "Don't go to school tomorrow at MHS. Students loaded up, about to head out." Okay? The one in the middle, this kid went old school on me. Left a note in the bathroom. "On February 23rd at 12 o'clock, I'm gonna blow it up."
I say you really didn't go old school, because if he had it would have been written in cursive.
But if he had written it in cursive, no one else would have been able to read it.
Read it.
Okay? But this one right here, a little closer to home. This is not too far from here up the road, just north here. School district that I worked with last school season during basketball season. Friday night, I got a call from a parent, said, "Hey, I need to send you a post that is going around the middle school Instagram account that my son just showed me." I said, "Okay, send it to me." He sent it to me, I got this. As soon as I got it, I called the SRO that worked that school and the supervisor. They said, "Well, we're at the ball game right now. Give us a little bit." 2 hours later, they called me back and said, "We got 3 students in custody." And we're talking, but his right there, it says, "Letter to Mr." and it has the middle school principal's name. "This is my school threat shooting warning letter. Okay? I will be shooting up the school on February the 15th at 12:30 in the cafeteria. My main target is you, you, couple more nice adjectives about her. You know, you live at," and had her home address.
Oh, my God.
Okay? Like I said, we've had 3 students in custody within 2 hours because they acted on it right then. I got a young man who's standing there with the picture. By the way, he's standing there holding a shotgun and giving the universal "We're number one" sign. Okay? Had the other young man who took the picture, and the third one who typed the narrative down there at the bottom. They all 3 wanted to say, "Oh, he did this, I didn't do it." Well, guess what? You're all 3 no longer welcome in our school system. You can go somewhere else. So, but that happened. That's for real. Happened right here in Alabama, folks.
I have a question. about
Yes,
something
ma'am.
you said. How do they just go from being expelled for that in one school and another school system just let them in? Like, can we not say we're not gonna let them in?
You're not supposed to.
We're fixing to have, we're gonna give you some help with that.
Yeah, expulsion is supposed to, like Ms. Matthews said, it's statewide. You're not supposed to. You know,
But it happens though, right?
it
What
happens.
happens, it does happen, and what happens a lot of times,
They slipped
and I'll
through.
just go ahead and hit it right now.
Okay.
I got this student who knows we're doing this. It's Friday, and we've got the superintendent's hearing, board hearing, whatever how you handle your discipline for his class 3 violation that he knows he's fixing to get expelled for. Right before that happens, mama withdraws.
So let me share this with you too, because this is the section that is under me. So PowerSchool is your student information system. And so right now it is currently locked. So if you're expelled, wherever you go, we cannot pull you in, right? But any other system, you know, those really smart computer people figure out ways to bypass and do things. So we're trying to build in stopgaps so that they have to do their time. I hate talking like that, but they've got to complete their expulsion period before another K-12 can enroll. Because because with the cross LEA enrollment and the student locator, once you type in that student's SSID, that record follows them when it's entered in the computer as expulsion.
That's another thing.
And it works, because we did have a student who enrolled in high school this year, was here for a week, and what happened, Jasmine? We went in and we saw that he had popped up in Power School, and he was expelled, and we were able to catch it, so if that is.
So what they're saying is, if it's entered, we catch them.
You heard it.
It has to be entered. So
Because
a lot of parents said, no, we have a stopgap, but
That's
it
right.
has to be entered.
Because there are districts that say, just go, and it won't enter. Now, that's not, those are few and far between, but trust me, like Mr. Roller said, it has to be entered first. And by the way, we'll go ahead and get into that. Inside, when we get into this inside threat assessment, talk about it just a little bit in a minute. By next fall, inside is gonna be able to talk to Power School, okay? So that's what they're telling us, so.
Man, I hate you said that, Dale.
That's right, because inside is, they're telling us inside is gonna talk about school. Now, that's big as an administrator, because I'm gonna tell you, if I was a
Lemons right
principal and I had, you have somebody to transfer.
It'd be better if you go out that way
Brewer High School.
and go back up there.
How you find out about it? We call it. Now, that's great.
You know anybody in Brewer?
Somebody, Mr. Rhodes tell you, I know somebody everywhere. I may not know much, but I know somebody everywhere. So that's
When you
very
call
good.
Brewer, you're gonna get me on the phone, okay? And when you ask me about little Johnny, what am I gonna tell you? He
Great
was
student,
a
and
great
inclusive.
kid. We cannot believe he is leaving, right? He was gonna be our starting quarterback and probably the valedictorian of this class.
But inside of Power School, now, if they come from a public school in the state of Alabama, you're gonna be able to see their discipline and their threat assessment. Now, that doesn't mean anything about private school or somewhere else. Folks, we don't wanna stereotype kids at all, but we also wanna know what we're getting, right?
Where the inside thing talking to Power School helps out is that kid like I was talking about, just prior to he never received his discipline because they withdrew ahead of time. Well, we've already got the threat assessment done on it, and it's entered, so
that's-
we can see that.
We're putting Mr. Romo on the spot, that's gonna happen.
So when a kid gets expelled during his expulsion time, it's legal for them not to be in school.
No, his parents had to have him, they got enrolled in private school, home school, whatever. He still had to be enrolled in school,
Okay, yes.
but you just got yourself kicked out of free public school.
Okay.
Compulsory school
So
age
now you got to pay.
6 to 17. That's correct. So most of your students who receive special education services can stay up to 21. And I would not expect as a school district that kid will disappear and never come back, because if the parent knows the law, they'll come back. But we usually provide services for them, whether we meet them at the library, somebody meets them there, they do those services. They typically gotta have some kind of service. If you're beyond 17, then a lot of times they just disappear. But the newest trend right now is that students will go to homeschool.
Right.
And stay in homeschool, and then eventually matriculate their way back into public school.
And again, as Mr. Roller said, if they have an IEP or all those, sometimes you may have to use home services, homebound, whatever your system calls. Okay.
Okay? But then so in many cases, other students were involved in some fashion. My cartoon said, what do you think? Columbine or Jonesboro? I asked you about this one ago. How many of y'all know anything about Jonesboro, Arkansas, other than what I told you? Happened in
Not nothing.
1998, two middle school students, an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, had this great elaborate plan.
He's being sarcastic.
Our plan was, we got a bunch of guns, we're gonna stack them up over here on the grassy area on the other side of the parking lot. 11-year-old goes into the school, pulls the fire alarm, and runs back out. They had outside, once everybody evacuates from the parking lot, they start shooting. That was their whole plan.
Now, how many 11-year-olds and 13-year-olds I've had guns?
None.
None. By the way, before I got as old as Mike says I used to be a real judgmental and not as much now. Because I started thinking about that. When I grew up in the country, when I was 12 years old, Christmas for my 12-year-old year, I got a single shotgun with a box of bourbon shot. 12 years old. Now, I couldn't go out unless my daddy got it out, it stayed locked up and all that. But we might can see how 11-year-old.
I was about that same age, I got my first shotgun, and I got one box of bird shot. So between us, you know, we got 2 guns, you know, his was a break open single shot, and mine was a pump, but, you know, I can hold 3. Okay? So, we got 4 rounds, you know, readily available right there.
But they had a lot of
guns.
guns. They had a lot of guns. How'd they do that? Look, hey, me and Mike's going target shoot tomorrow. I'm out of shells. Can you bring me some of your? Hey, we're going to shoot, bird hunting tomorrow. Can I borrow your daddy's gun? You see, and by the way, you didn't know that I asked her, but vice versa. And let's go a step further.
How many people were involved? We talked about Jonesboro, what about Columbine now? How many people were involved in Columbine shooting? 2 shooters that we know of. What we found out since then is there's as many as 12 other students involved in the planning stage.
Now, some of them didn't know they were involved. Same kind of thing.
I got
Okay.
first lunch period and it's packed when I'm in there. I don't see if I can get my food. Don't you have second lunch period? How many kids are in there when you go to lunch? Okay? Hey, I got first lunch period packed. I'm trying to think, don't you have third lunch? How many kids are in there when you go to lunch? Hey, don't you go to fourth lunch period? Hey, I don't have first, I don't eat lunch, you don't say the same. How many kids are in there? One tell me to change. Okay?
So, and
y'all
not
remember
only,
what I asked you?
not only that, hey, Mike and I are doing a science project. Can you go down here to East Hardware and get us some 1-foot section of galvanized pipe with end caps? Hey, and not knowing I asked you, can you go down, we're building a fort, can you go to Lowe's and get us 10 pounds of nails? Hey, we got a little agricultural product, can you go get us a bag of fertilizer?
Got a whole pipe bomb right there.
Yeah.
By the way, and I'll go ahead and say
Go ahead
right
now,
now,
we'll skip, yeah.
if the Columbine attackers would have been better detonator builders versus bomb builders, there would have been hundreds more.
We ain't kidding.
Because they found, after the shooting, they found over 100 bombs in Columbine. High School.
Unexploded bombs.
On the gas main, some of them.
Yeah, they had them on gas mains,
They
at
were
the
all
kitchen.
over the place, and they had taken them.
They didn't bring them all in on April the 20th, folks.
Right.
This has been going on for a while, okay?
And again, some of those students didn't know they were involved in that, because they were asked that way, okay?
And so one of the things, please forgive me, one of the things that we always ask too, from a safety standpoint, don't exclude your custodian. Or in a small district like Midfield, 3 schools, 5 schools, 6 schools, you may share a maintenance man that's in charge of maintenance around. They need to do walks periodically around the building before breaks, and we come back from breaks, because when they're not in school, they have time to plant their stuff.
Yeah,
We
they
need to
do.
periodic walks around the
These
building.
children be walking too much.
I'm gonna throw something in here that has nothing to do with anything we're talking about today, but it just, what's y'all policy on bomb threats here?
And by the way, that came up in Huntsville last week.
Just like, y'all evacuate on the bomb threat?
You do?
Okay, that's all right. I mean, I'm not saying right or wrong. I just want to give you thought process to help you rethink. Okay? When you evacuate a building, where do you go? Have you searched the football field prior to you getting there?
No.
Does everybody in the school know that I go to the football field?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, my wife's school and y'all, they used to evacuate to the diesel pump where the buses park. I thought there's a better place y'all can go to football.
By the way, there ain't been
You ain't
anybody
kidding.
building a bomb since,
It's been a while.
1963.
okay? So, we
I
don't,
don't think about church.
this Mike and I, don't recommend evacuation on bomb.
Because on top of that, if you do evacuate, now you gotta search your building before you come back in it, right? Well, I'm just gonna tell you, your SRO might be somewhat familiar with your building, okay? But the police that are responding don't know nothing about it, and he don't know what belongs in every classroom.
That's true.
A teacher knows what belongs in her classroom, okay? It's better to have them check your classroom before we leave. Now, if we find something suspicious, something we don't know, yeah, now we can evacuate. That's,
But understand,
I'll tell you what,
when you evacuate to the parking lot, or wherever, you already have put Jonesboro, you put all kinds of targets, potential targets.
which can I put more explosives in? My backpack or the trunk of my car?
So
Trunk of your car.
understand that that's just our personal opinion, but again, look at history again on bomb threats. And by the way, Huntsville had 2 or 3 last week, and they evacuated whole schools.
And somehow searched the whole school in 48 minutes.
And they did it two or 3 days in a row. So that sounds like somebody, and now you're getting these robocalls from all over the country.
Man,
that's
what?
saying, hey, there's a bomb in your school, okay? So let's make sure it's credible, or it's
All right,
something.
let's talk about threat assessments in schools.
Who threatens it, school?
Why do we do threat assessments?
Come on, why do we do threat assessment? That's the number one question. That's why I'm here. Why do we do threat assessment?
Word of se-
What's that?
Bullies.
Okay, but really, it boils down to just brass
Will
tacks.
Sampson, that's right. We're making
Why
our
do we do it?
schools
We'll
safe.
make our schools safe.
That's the bottom line. Everything that we're doing, and I'll come back to the test question, number one reason we're doing it is we're making our schools safe first, okay?
Safety first.
Now then, who threatens at schools?
people in the school.
Okay,
Students,
students.
Student.
parents,
Yeah, parent.
faculty.
Pretty much anybody.
I worked with the school system that a couple of years ago, we had a counselor who became upset with some rules that our principal put in place for the next school year. Upset enough that she went to her principal, told her about it, told her how much she disliked these rules, what she thought she should do about it, and what she was gonna do if she didn't do something about it. She then sent this principal an email outlining each one of these new rules and what she thought about them and what she would do if they weren't changed. And her what she could do included some physicality in it. Okay? She then posted that email to social media. Now, that counselor does not work for that school system anymore.
And the reason he stresses that is, like I said, Mike and I have been doing this a while together, and he always tells that story right then. We were up, a year or so ago, we were up in North Alabama, 150, 200 people training, and he got to that point and didn't say it. They had hired her. She was
You're sitting there.
she was in there, so. So just so you'll know.
She doesn't work for that school system anymore either.
But she,
So we're gonna look
But I
at
do know where she's at now.
you mean she in another school system?
Should be in no school
And
system.
what do those, that key word, that buzzword, what do best practices look like? And some of the things that we're gonna look at. If we ever change.
Well, I'd have to.
There it is. And here's what we're talking about. Here's what we got into earlier, okay? So the National Threat Assessment Center said a multidisciplinary threat assessment team in conjunction with appropriate policies, tools, and training is the best practice for preventing future targets, future tragedies. That's why. That's what they said. So who is on this multidisciplinary threat assessment team? Administrator, obviously the principal. We asked for the principal, and by the way, if it's big enough threat, the principal's gonna get involved anyway, right? That's right.
But we really have to assist the principal.
Why do we ask for assistant principal?
Doing work.
Exactly, they're the boots on the ground, they're the, handle the discipline, they know the kids. That's a big reason. Another reason Mike says is,
Principals are always at a meeting in central office. I never responded to a big incident at school, but when I got there, it would always, Miss Smith's on her way back, she got called down to central office for a meeting. And I used to ask, I was like, did y'all put it on the sign out front, principal has left the building, you know, whatever? And I had a principal that they finally told me, they know where we park. So when they look out the door, my car ain't out there, they go off.
so understand, we know the assistant principal is, just like Mr. Rome says, does all the work. He or she's the one that knows that kid better than the principal.
Yeah, who has a supposed to be disciplined in school?
That's right.
Assistant principal.
Tell me how many.
Brother
students-
Lamb?
350. All right, so why do we ask for the school counselor? What does that counselor know that you don't know? Do you know every guardianship of your, who's, if they're living with mom or dad or both, or grandparent or foster parent or DHR placement or all that? Do you know all those? You know that
The
counselor,
counselor
that counselor
knows.
does. Okay? Does all of those things affect how little Johnny acts? Absolutely. So that counselor knows, and that counselor may be doing counseling things, so there's a lot of information that that counselor has that an administrator doesn't have, okay? And we talked about, school nurse. I saw somewhere here today. Okay, school nurse, so tell me what,
Oh, she's
does that school
gone, man.
nurse know that you don't know, principal or assistant principal?
Medical history?
Medication.
What about that medication?
Yeah.
Did they take it?
Did they take
Do they need to take it?
What is the number one,
Exactly.
what is the number one exceptionality that I think every kid in Alabama public school now has been diagnosed with?
ADHD?
ADHD. Tell me, what's the medicine for ADHD?
Written. Really?
You folks, you heard all that? So what do? What do those doctors do? They tell you, take this, give that to them for 2 weeks, and come back and see us, and they may change it.
Yeah.
Because when they change it, does that affect little Johnny's behavior? Do you know it as an administrator that they just changed medicine? No.
When you walk through the door, sometimes.
That's exactly right. But if they had, let's say they had changed medicines, let's say, but at the 20th of the month, every month, something happens, and they're out of medicine for that month. You ever seen that happen? All the time. And you wanna say, who took it, or who did you sell it to?
Right.
And that happens sometimes, but sometimes that's not what happens, I'll tell you. I called the school nurse and I went in to meet with her and said, look, you gotta do something. That's why, and it's like 23rd, 24th per month. She said, Johnny's out of medicine again. It happens nearly every month. He's out of medicine. He said, I know his mama's selling it. I said, okay, let me get her down here to school. I can talk to her, and I can talk to her differently than your administrator can. So I've got mama down there and I'm laying into her pretty hard. I mean, I'm stepping on some toes. I've done everything except beat my hand on the desk and say, tell me who you're selling this to. And she finally says, hold on, I'll tell you the truth. I said, well, good. Because I'm thinking, she's telling me who she's selling it to, and I'm going to put her to it. And no, she's not taking it. She looked at me and she said, we double up on the weekends. And I said, what? She said, we need Johnny to be calm at home on the weekends, so we double up, so we run out.
Wow.
But not at school.
But understand, nurses know when they're out of medicine and how that affects them, and they all, and by the way, we've done these talks, and we had a nurse come up to us and tell us that some of these kids that do these things are their chronic bellyache kids. They don't think the nurses are part of the staff, so they'll come to them and talk a little bit more than they do. How about special ed teachers? We got any special ed people in here? No?
Well, what's a special ed teacher that probably the rest of us don't know?
What do they know? What's those levels?
Yeah.
IEP and know that, that's right.
Their levels.
And we always say, listen, let's say little Johnny has that in that IEP, and you've seen it, that I can go out and go across to Miss Smith's room and have a cool down session. But in the middle of that cool down session, or on the way across there, 30 kids are coming from lunch, 30 kids are going to lunch. And little Johnny says, I'm gonna kill every MF in this school. What can you do, little Johnny?
Nothing.
Can you not? Because it may be a
Yes, you may.
manifestation of his exceptionality, right? But look, here's something you
What's
need.
gonna happen tomorrow morning?
That's right.
How many phone calls are you gonna get?
Or this afternoon.
60.
And the statistics says actually 2 for each one, so you probably get 120. That's right. So, but you.
And I'll just tell you, already, they're not gonna be happy with,
Uh-uh.
ma'am, we can't discuss another tutor's
That's
discipline.
right. That's right.
So
So,
I don't know what to
You sure
do to
don't.
protect my
that's
child.
right. So you need to understand this little saying.
Protect my
That's
child.
right. So you need to understand this little saying, because you can't make it stick all the time, and I'll explain that, but what's that saying, Mike?
Badge trumps IEP.
You hear that? Because that, little Johnny may have gone from violating, code of conduct in Midfield City Schools, and he may be covered under that IEP.
But he just went to violating Title 13 in the state of Alabama.
Y'all know what Title 13 is? Criminal Code for the state of Alabama. Okay? So, now let me back up. Let me cross this just a little bit. Okay? So, this is where that collaboration comes important. Okay? So, this is where that collaboration comes important. Because you can't ask that SRO to arrest every fourth grader with the, can't ask that SRO to arrest every fourth grader with Tourette's that comes out and screams profanity at the time. And that, I know Jefferson County Family Court, I can tell you, they're gonna tell you, get him out of here, okay? So you can't ask him, but that collaboration's important. Because, you know what? If that's a sixth grader or fourth grader, whoever, he might not can arrest them, but you know what he can do? He can help escort them to the office.
Can you come to the office with me?
Because when you get those 120 calls, and mama says, what are y'all doing about the school, making school safe? Because my little Susie said little Johnny's gonna kill everybody. Ma'am, Jefferson They may not, it may come back, but he escorted him. And what do you think they're gonna do at Jefferson County when they get that call, or Midfield City, or anything else? When they call and say, what do y'all do? What do you think they're gonna tell them?
Very nicely, someone with the sheriff's department, probably the chief secretary, because that's where the call will end up. He'll tell them nicely, it ain't none of your business.
So, again, understand, I'm not saying that he can arrest or do all those things, but if that collaboration's in place, that comes in big.
But
Okay?
I heard Mr. Rowland mention, we got any 18-year-old students in our building? Guess what happens when you turn 18? You go to big boy jail.
He was grown.
I don't care if you got it, there's nowhere in the code says that he can be
Yeah,
arrested
them niggas
for
will
making a
do that.
terrorist threat or disorderly conduct or anything else unless he has an IEP. He's gone.
So what else does that SRO know that you don't know? If they've been, if they've got a record? Exactly. If they've
That's
been
big.
in trouble.
Yeah, little Johnny got arrested over the weekend for robbery. Would that be important for you to know here?
Yeah.
What else is that? Let's say little Johnny's like that one Mike said, that perfect fit. Exactly. If there's something that, violence, domestic violence calls, whatever, that affects little Johnny. So that SRO can pull up all kinds of different things, okay? So understand that all of these people have a part. And again, we can't ask principals, they're not in there, we can't ask principals to do it anymore. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute, while some of the other, what we got right here, Mike?
I'm trying to get it, there we go.
All right, making versus posing a threat. Who's my elementary school people here? Okay, let's say little Jimmy slide, down the slide, kindergarten, slides down the slide, hits little Johnny at the bottom of the slide, and Johnny jumps up and says, I'm gonna kill you. Does little Johnny make a threat? Yes. Does he pose a threat?
No.
Probably not.
Probably not. Don't say no too quickly. Okay? Because for one thing, most of those are gonna be handled at classroom level. You're never gonna know about it. Okay? With the teacher's gonna deal with that, because I mean, like I said, I'm married to a kindergarten teacher. You know, that's what they deal with. But if they bring one to you, you may want to think, what has elevated it to the point that the teacher can't handle it anymore.
Right.
Okay? But that 11th grade student that I showed you a while ago that was standing there with that AR, you know, he's your student, Mr. Aikman. Did he make a threat?
The one that says it's on the mark.
Did he pose a threat?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
But I always tell people that kindergartner can still be a threat. Okay? I got a call to one of my schools one day, elementary school, when I walk in, the principal sitting at his desk. When I walk in, look over here in the corner, there's the cutest, most precious, darling little kindergarten girl you've ever seen in your life. She is crying her eyes out. Okay? I go in, and this school wasn't in the best neighborhood in town. And so I thought, okay, what has happened to her on the way to school? So I immediately started going to her. Principal tells me, hold on, Sarge, before you go talk to her. I need you to come talk to me. I was like, well, okay. You know,
Dang.
so I go, and her backpack's laying on his desk. I still see it today. Hello Kitty backpack. Okay? He said, before you talk to her, I need you to look in her backpack. Okay? So I opened up the backpack, looked at the bottom. The bottom of her backpack was a loaded .22 revolver.
Ooh.
Mama had sent her to school that morning with a gun and the instructions, don't you let those other kids pick on you today. Was that kindergartner a threat?
Yes.
Now, we arrested Mama, but that kindergartner was a threat. Just because they're knee high doesn't mean that they can't be a threat.
You ain't kidding.
A direct threat, by the way.
Yeah, her mom was a
much
threat.
time on this, less than 15% of school shooters make a direct threat. I'm gonna come in and kill you tomorrow. Most of them are indirect threat, lots of them, if I wanted to, I could kill everyone at the school. That's an indirect threat.
Had this exact threat made in one of my schools, had a student who had made a threat already, a serious enough threat that he'd been charged with making a terrorist threat and should have been expelled.
Yeah.
But he had an IEP. So he got placed at alternative school. My special ed director decides that since Tuesday is senior portrait day at his home school, Johnny should return to his home school and have his picture made. Because after all, he's a senior like everybody else. His picture deserves to be out there in that hall. Okay, I don't know, yes, no, maybe on that, but she forgot to do a couple of things. She forgot to tell the principal at the alternative school that little Johnny wouldn't be showing up on Tuesday morning. She forgot to tell principal, assistant principal, counselors at home school that little Johnny would be showing up that morning. She did tell one person. She told the teacher that was in charge of finger portraits. Well, where was she at?
Doing
She's
portraits.
down here in the auditorium lining up kids to get your pictures made, right?
Right.
So the school that this happened at, the day it happened, had 1,502 students enrolled in it. 1,501 of them knew exactly what little Johnny looked like. That's the kind of threat he had made previously. Okay? So he's back on campus, headed in to get his picture made. He's done nothing wrong because he's been told by administration he can be there. As he's walking across campus, he runs into a sophomore girl that recognizes him. Makes a very, what I thought, legitimate and non-evoke question. She looks at him and says, "Hey, Johnny, I thought you were at the alternative school. Did you get out?" I mean, that's a pretty basic question. It doesn't really imply anything. He looks at her and says, "Don't you worry about it. If I wanted to, I could kill everyone here," and walks off. She now goes into like level 15 panic mode, goes running into the main office, screaming, "Johnny's on campus and he's going to kill everybody." Right? They put the school in lockdown, call the whole SRO unit over there, and we start a room by room search hunting for little Johnny.
Where do you think they found him?
In the auditorium.
Yeah, his line is in the auditorium with the rest of them down there, waiting to get the picture. Okay? But, so after that happened, I called little Johnny's mama, by the way, and I told her, I said, "Hey, by the way, we're gonna make a second charge of making a terrorist threat against him," and I told her what he said. She tells me all this, she said, "Well, I don't think you can charge him with that." And I said, "Well, I would like you to explain to me why I can't, because I believe I can." And she said, "Well, he didn't really threaten anyone. He said he could kill him if he wanted to, not that he was going to."
The National Threat Assessment Center says that's an indirect threat.
That's exactly what that is.
That's right. And by the way, veil threat, I like you to take my advice and stay away from school tomorrow. We see that a lot of senior skip days. Hey, don't go tomorrow, something's gonna happen. That's a veil threat, okay? Understand, and a conditional threat. If you tell someone you might not make it home today, we found out later that some of those Columbine kids started getting a little suspicious, started asking questions, and they were told that if you tell someone, those Columbine kids that didn't know they were involved, and they were told if you tell someone you might not make it home today. So all of those are different types of threats. Let's look at a couple of them. This is a real old, but it is a Facebook. This is, like I said, an action plan. My father has 3 guns. I'm planning on killing him first, putting him in a dumpster. Then I'm taking the motor and I'm going in fast. I'm going to kill hopefully at least 200 before I kill myself. So you want to tell the deputy I'm on my way. I'm killing 200 people minimum at school. I'll be on CNN. How many weapons does this guy have?
200.
No,
Oh, good, I see up there 4. What's that for?
shit, you could have just had
Or
one.
whatever, remember in Europe, they're taking maybe.
Yes, sir, I'm gonna pull
Got
up to
clips.
Midfield High School and walk, park in the visitor spot and go in and check in at the office, did
Yeah,
he?
he doesn't say all of it, he's not gonna check in, he's gonna go in fast, he's gonna kill at least 200, and then he's gonna do what?
Kill itself.
Kill itself.
Remember, there's a suicide guy, so you wanna tell the deputy I'm on my way, why would you tell the deputy, why would he want you, there's different thought processes.
So the deputy can kill him.
If I tell you I'm on my way to Midfield High School, where you gonna be? Waiting on the way, right out front. So there's 2 different thought processes. One is they put the SRO where they know where they're gonna be, and the second is suicide by cop. Lots of them
Yeah.
do that. So either way, so we think about that. So you want to tell the deputy I'm on my way, I'm killing 200 people minimum at school, I'll be on CNN. Folks, these people are looking for 2 things, numbers and notoriety. That's what they're looking for, numbers and notoriety. As many numbers as easily as they get, and notoriety. We talked about, it may be 5 minutes or so
Clout
before
chase.
some more police people get here. Trust me, CNN's hanging, they got a truck somewhere over there.
That's the deal.
Let's look at the next.
That's annoying.
Well, and by the way, this was written by Brian. It was in a geography class in Aurora, Colorado, a high school in Aurora, Colorado. He says, well, since I'm not welcome in Aurora, I should go on the shooting rampage. By doing this, I killed 713 members of my school and also 41 other staff members. After this, I decided my life's not worth living and it's suicide. So Aurora should be destroyed. What do you see here? What jumps out at you?
Psychotic, mental issue.
He a loner.
He's well, maybe so.
Mr. Aikman said a while ago, y'all got 350 here,
What
right?
school you at? High school, and he said there was 350, I think, right? If I ask any student in here today in Hall, any of them, how many students are here? Would any of them know 350? No. This kid knew exactly how many. Okay. Well, let's ask that. How many staff members? You got 350. How many staff members you got? Total? 32. So what do you
So
say?
you got 32
They
teachers.
didn't mention.
Staff.
Staff members.
So how many, and that's for 350. So what do you see right here?
Too many students, not enough staff.
Either appropriation or no, what was it? He had particular ones.
He already knew.
Yeah.
I wanna be number 22 on that list. Okay? So he had done his homework after this, my life's not worth living, so Aurora should be destroyed.
Dang,
He did.
he finna
And
go
Mama
ham.
was like this.
Mama, when they went to her mama about this, she said he didn't threaten Aurora High School. He threatened some fictitious place named Aurora.
Aurora. Still a threat, okay? And by the way, a geography teacher, second-year teacher, and I don't know about here, but I'll just go ahead and ask, because this school's kind of spread out for a high school, wouldn't you say? And that, it's not so, and Mr. Roder can attest to this, I bet you he hadn't thought about it, and it didn't happen this way, but where do most of your first or second-year teachers end up with a classroom? Further straight from the office. And again, it may not work out, I don't know how, but some in a trailer or further straight from office. So.
How long y'all got between classes?
How long between classes?
5
5 minutes.
Y'all are
minutes.
generous. I tell you. Where were we the other day that they said they had 3 minutes?
5 minutes. But let's say,
Dang.
this teacher,
You can't go to the law.
protocol in Colorado was that the threat assessment started with their counselor, which was their school psychologist, okay? That's what they call it. You're supposed to take that threat first to leave. So this teacher is a second-year teacher, and she takes it up to the counselor's office, and that counselor is not in there. What do you think she does?
Go back to the
school with a note.
Throw it away.
Probably put it up somewhere
Throw it away.
or put it in a
Throw it
desk.
away.
Leave it
She
on
done
the
a little
desk.
better than that. This counselor, door was locked on her office, but this counselor was kind of a crafty person. She had hot glued a binder clip to her door. She clipped that note to her door.
Wow.
In unison, we all say, how in the world could she do that? Right? How in the world could she do that? Remember I said I'm not quite as judgmental as I used to be? How much time you got in between classes? 5 minutes. What do you ask those teachers to do in between classes?
Stand in the hall.
Monitor the hall, that's right. Now what do you ask them to do when the bell rings? Teach what? Bell to bell. So we got a second-year teacher who's trying to keep her job, who knows that she's supposed to be in the hall supervising, and she knows this is probably the day for that unannounced observation. I better get back to my class. So you start understanding a little bit how that brain says. You can't quite judge her so quickly. So folks, that's why we gotta make sure we have a protocol for everybody. First of all, to give it to a living, breathing person. Okay? Second of all, make sure we've got things covered before it happens, like my next door neighbor. We gotta make sure that protocol's in place, because it doesn't just happen. Okay? And we gotta make sure that everybody knows. And then after she gives it to somebody, what does she need to do? Document what she gave us.
Write it down.
Okay? See, and again, look, we're all like that, and you start understanding why that teacher did what she did. And so until we think about it ahead of time, we have to plan, okay? Drawing, let's look at this drawing. And this is drawn by a veteran 10th grader. What do you see there? First of all, Mike, always make sure.
I'll tell y'all, that's not a bullet up the top, that's a railroad spike.
Railroad spike. So what
What's
does that
that tell you?
railroad spike tell you?
It's a light bell.
I always tell people that if I shoot you, that's actually for you probably pretty quick and painless. Okay? But if I drive a railroad spike into your head with a hammer, I wanted you to feel it.
Personal, that's right.
That's
You like
personal.
that State Farm, you don't have to get that personal. What else do you see here?
There's some initials.
And this is Isaiah, his name's Rick, so we know he's got a target, right?
Yeah.
Isaiah Johnson, whoever it is.
Jay.
What is?
Sewn up eyes and mouth.
So, what does that tell you? By the way, there's all kinds of different
Dang.
perspectives on that too.
Mm-mm.
Dead, that's right. Lots of people say they're always dead, and lots of people say they're dolls, so that, takes the human object, dehumanizes their target, makes it easy to.
We also heard in a couple districts that stitches for snitches.
Yeah, so a lot of people, if you see something like this, we were in a district not too long ago, and, training.
That was
a large
creative.
district, and one of the principals came out and said, my art teacher's got these things lined up outside, it's got all these stitch outs, you might want to take a look at that.
And also, like on the right side, I almost feel like a girl parent, like maybe somebody heard this video of a girlfriend or something.
Could be. But yeah, you gotta pay attention to drawings, cause they can tell you a lot.
Yeah, they do. That's why I be trying to see what Jason be drawing.
This is Hallmark.
I tell you where his
Yeah,
mind
we have to
at.
be careful, that we say this is a Hallmark movie, but we were in Marineville County the other day, and when we got into that, we got, said, y'all ready for Hallmark? Talk about Hallmark movie, then we found out their superintendent's name Hallmark, so we said, oh, no. So,
This is an awareness test.
awareness day.
Well, you brought.
How many passes does the team in white make?
How many of you got
The
those?
answer is 13.
Okay.
But did you see the moonwalking bear?
How many of you that counted 13 saw you?
Did not.
Where is
You
it?
just, the moonwalking bears, you walk right through them.
I still ain't seen
We was
it.
too busy counting, but you missed it.
We tell,
I still didn't see it.
we tell principals
Let's
all
see
the
that
time,
again.
when you have that faculty meeting that might,
Oh.
somebody wants to be in, mention school safety all the time, have it at the forefront, and you might want to show one of these videos, because I gotta tell you folks, as educators,
No way. So you like to write down masks?
Dang. see the bell.
Okay? And whether it's school in the classroom, whether it's
Oh.
administrative, whether we got football game or pep rally or testing or whatever. And we don't do as good a job as our law enforcement people at looking at the big picture. We gotta get educated, everybody to look at the big picture. And if you see something, say something, okay? That needs to be a habit, and that's everybody. If you think it's suspicious, you need to tell somebody, okay? And the worst, I'll tell you, I was a language arts person. Anybody else language arts in there? Nobody?
Nobody else would admit to that.
I know.
You ain't kidding. That's the worst subject in the world.
Bottom line is, the English teachers and art teachers are the hardest people to get to turn in things. Why? That's right, we don't want to inhibit their creativity, it's art, it's expression. We finally got to do something, but bottom line, folks, is you got to make sure your faculty knows. If you think it's a little suspicious, even if, tell somebody else, get somebody else's opinion. We can look back at Virginia Tech and at just about all of those shootings and find out that somebody knew something about it, they just didn't connect the dots. And if we connect the dots, we can prevent it before it happens, okay? So a lot of people say.
There's actually, yeah, we gave you all these behaviors to look for and all this. There's some people in the world that actually tell us there are reasons to not disrupt this behavior.
I call them excuses. That's all they are, excuses.
And I seen this sign this morning as I turned into High School Drive out here today. It said, "Welcome to Midfield High School. It'll never happen here."
We think it's gonna happen in Birmingham City or Mobile or Huntsville or all those things. Folks, it can happen anywhere.
Anywhere.
We've already talked about those, okay?
Yep, I always ask people, anybody know the significance of the date of May 21st, 1985? Those of you that were alive back then. Okay? May 21st, 1985, Deputy Bill Biles, who worked for Morgan County Sheriff's Department, stopped the car on Peck Hollow Road about a mile and a half from Brewer High School. When he approached the driver's window of that car, the 18-year-old student driver shot him. The car sped away. Deputy Biles turned fire on the car, hitting the gas tank. The car made it over into the neighboring county where it ran out of gas. The driver and the car were taken into custody and brought back to Morgan County. By the way, Deputy Biles died of his wounds 3 days later. Okay? But when he got back to Morgan County, first thing we were going to do is do an inventory on that car. So they opened up the trunk, full of guns and ammunition. So now we're going to interview the student. They asked him, said, "What's going on?" What is that? He told them that he was mad at Mr. Tucker, who was the principal at Brewer at the time, over some dress code rule he had put into place for graduation that was coming up. So he told him his plan was he was going to Brewer High School. He was going to drive around the end of the football field there up to where at that time was our ROTC rifle range. He was going to put all his guns out on the table up there. He was then going down and pull the fire alarm and run back up to the rifle range. Because in 1985, when we had a fire alarm, everybody evacuated to the football field.
Sure did.
He said, "I knew once they were all on that football field, I could start shooting." And they couldn't all get out that one little gate. That happened tragic. Folks, that was Alabama, 1985, about as rural as it gets.
Yep.
And we were, 30 seconds away from it happening there.
It can happen anywhere, folks.
Right. Mid-1990, early 1990s, I worked for the Decatur Police Department. I was driving by Decatur High School on Prospect Drive. As I drove by the front doors, I had a female student come running out the front doors who literally runs into the side of my patrol car. Stop the car, get out and go around. She's standing in the middle of the road, kind of dazed. She's standing there. She's got a butcher knife in one hand, and she's covered in blood. Now, being the highly trained investigator that I was, I looked at her and I said, "Something's not right." So I took the knife away from her, threw her in the back seat of my car, go in the front doors of school. About 25 feet past the office, there's a girl down the hallway. There's administrators and nurses with her now. She had been stabbed in the back 9 times by the girl who's now in the back seat of my car. You want to guess what about?
What is it about?
Brown little boy.
Now, 2 days prior to that, boyfriend broke up with her. The day prior to that, she saw a boyfriend talking to the girl who was now stabbed. The girl survived her stabbing. But that's Decatur. Decatur's not some big metropolitan area. It can happen anywhere.
Over anything.
what it takes. You got to.
And we've had, student guns in this school that have come through the metal detector, but because the faculty are aware this is happening. So, what am I saying? Yeah, I'm commending us for doing well, but it might go well.
Gotta be prepared.
Vigilant all the time.
All right, so now I got a pre-test for y'all. When did the first school shooting occur? And all on there, the first school shooting in the Americas.
1950.
I thought it was 98.
Hold on one second.
66.
1950 in Flint, Michigan.
You're right.
1966, Texas.
It wasn't
1966, 8/1/1966.
12 years before we were still a British colony actually at that time. There was a little one-room school outside of what's now Green Chapel, Pennsylvania. Had a schoolmaster there by the name of Enoch Brown. A group of Indians come down and took Mr. Brown and a number of students hostage. Mr. Brown pleaded for hours. Let the students go, kill me, do whatever you want. You know, this went on for hours. Eventually, the Indians shot Mr. Brown and scalped him, we think with his own musket. But I haven't been able to get reliable information on that because Dale was teaching somewhere else.
I was at a different school later.
But killed him, scalped a number of other students, 2 of which survived their scalping, and 4 were taken back to the Indian camp as hostages. So there were 10 people along with Mr. Brown for a total of 11 killed at that school shooting. Okay? But nobody can tell me about Mr. Brown. But y'all can all tell me about Columbine. You can tell me about Parkland. You can tell me about Uvalde, Texas. What's changed?
Nothing but the time.
The media. That's it. It's everything else. Tell people all the time, if you say Columbine to me today, I still see that picture up there on the top. That's the image that's in my head for Columbine, because the news media. Okay? So we get all of our stuff there, but how do our students get news?
Internet, social media.
They live in an instantaneous world. They expect it right now. And I don't know what policy is in Midfield, and I'm not trying to change policy in that, but do all y'all have social media accounts for your school? Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff now? Okay?
Elementary school do.
Our students expect stuff quickly.
Yeah, they
So
do.
A lot of our parents are not that far from being students. And so they live in that same world. They all live with that phone in their hand. Okay? They want something right now. So if you go on secure perimeter, what's your students start doing as soon as the intercom turned off?
Social
They're
media.
on that social media putting something out. So as quickly as you can,
Yeah, most of them will go log and dial, whatever it is. That's right.
as quickly as you can, you need to get some information out. If you can put something,
Take a second, she said misinformation. And
Yes.
I cannot tell you how powerful that statement is.
very much.
Y'all talk about misinformation and how it creates issues.
Yes, because your students, they put out, oh, we're on lockdown, no matter if you're on secure perimeter or not, we're on lockdown, we're all gonna die. There's a shooter in the building, this, that, they've done this and that, okay? And that's what I tell you, I work with my safety director, my school system is very good. Does an excellent job of this. As soon as we get a situation contained, he'll put something out, okay? And it may be, we had an incident at the high school this morning, law enforcement has responded, all students are safe. I will provide you with an update in 20 minutes. Now, did I really tell parents anything?
Except all students are safe, that's what they want to hear.
That's the big thing, right?
Because if you don't put out that information, they're going to do that.
I should have got my charge.
They gonna send it to their parents. Sharing it.
Parents start making social media posts about stuff they don't know, they start showing up at the school, checking out, okay? But if we can get that information out and slow that down, now we're still gonna have some of it, but we put it out, and there'll be some people that will say, well, the school said this is what's going on.
And there's a couple different examples of that. First of all, my grandkids go to Trust Lane. So I'll tell you, they've gone the other way. And
They used to didn't report nothing.
you know, we know that they hid that notebook and didn't want anything out. I'll tell you, now that new interim superintendent, if there's somebody that threatens a fight, that's just about going out there with a fight, they're trying to cover the bases, okay? I understand that's what we, not necessarily that, but it can go other ways too, like secure perimeter. I can tell you,